Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things you didn't even realize had epic backstories. Today's question comes from one of our wonderfully curious viewers, Caveman with Wi-Fi 660. Thanks for the suggestion, Caveman. You asked, when did humans learn to tame animals? If you've ever looked at your dog snoring on the couch or your cat knocking stuff off your shelves, you might have wondered, how did we get here? When did we stop running from wild beasts and start putting sweaters on them? Today, we're herding up the fascinating and slightly chaotic history of animal domestication, from ancient wolves to modern poodles, right here on Explaining Everything. Let's rewind the clock. Way back. No iPhones, no delivery pizza, no TikTok. We're talking about 15,000 years ago, give or take a millennium. The Ice Age was wrapping up, and humans were wandering around in furry outfits that weren't exactly designer. Somewhere in that frosty wilderness, some brave or bored human looked at a wolf and thought, yeah, I can work with this. Thus, dogs were the first animals domesticated. Or, more accurately, wolves domesticated themselves. Some of the less aggressive ones started hanging around human camps for scraps. Over time, the friendliest wolves got fluffier, smaller, and better at doing tricks in exchange for snacks. So the dog was like, okay, fine. I'll stay if you keep feeding me. Also, I'll bark at stuff. Once humans realized they could tame a dog, they started eyeing other animals like, hey, you look edible and manageable. Enter the agricultural revolution around 10,000 years ago. People started settling down, growing crops, and deciding that chasing wild animals all day was exhausting. So they domesticated sheep, goats, cows, and pigs. Sheep gave wool, goats gave milk, cows gave both, and pigs gave, well, bacon. Glorious bacon. It was like the prehistoric version of a grocery store. But everything pooped and occasionally ran away. Domestication wasn't just about food. It was about control. Once animals were bred in captivity, they became easier to manage. Over generations, they got smaller, tamer, and less likely to trample your vegetable garden, unless you were raising a goose. Geese are still jerks. Now, let's talk about cats. Because, of course, cats did things differently. Unlike dogs, cats weren't interested in being man's best friend. They were interested in snacks, specifically rodents. Around 9,000 years ago, in the Middle East, early farmers noticed that storing grain attracted mice. Mice attracted cats. Cats looked at the humans and said, "We'll handle the mice if you don't touch us, talk to us, or look us directly in the eyes." And thus, a mutually beneficial relationship began. Cats kept the food supply rodent-free, and humans gave them a place to nap for 16 hours a day. To this day, we still don't own cats. They own us. Okay, now it's time for some muscle. Somewhere between 6,000 to 5,000 years ago, humans looked at big, strong animals and thought, you know what would be great? If that thing carried all my stuff. And so, we domesticated donkeys, horses, camels, and oxen. These animals became our prehistoric pickup trucks, pulling plows, hauling supplies, and giving us the first version of Uber. And horses? Total game changer. With horses, humans could travel farther, trade more, and dramatically ride off into sunsets long before movies existed. Fun fact, the horse was domesticated in the Eurasian steppes, what is now Ukraine, Russia, and Kazakhstan. The locals must have been like, "Sure, it's cold, but check out our horsepower." It didn't stop there. Humans kept looking around, going, "What else can we tame?" Enter chickens, domesticated in Southeast Asia about 8,000 years ago. Originally prized for cockfighting, yep, ancient humans were weird. They eventually became walking egg factories. Then there's bees. People in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia were domesticating bees for honey. And stings. Lots of stings, but mostly honey. And in South America, people domesticated llamas and alpacas. Llamas were like the classy camels of the Andes, good for carrying stuff, not for riding, unless you enjoy being spit on. Alpacas, meanwhile, were all about the fiber, like fancy sheep with attitude. If an animal could feed you, carry your things, or not try to eat you, humans tried to tame it. Let's take a step back. What does it mean to domesticate an animal? Well, it's not just about slapping a collar on it and calling it Mr. Fluffy. Domestication means changing an animal's behavior and biology over generations to better suit human needs. It's selective breeding. Taking the calmest, friendliest, most manageable animals and making more of them until the wild instincts are mostly gone and they no longer panic every time someone sneezes. It's why dogs come in every shape, from purse-sized to couch-sized. It's why cows don't bolt at the sight of humans. And it's definitely why chickens don't act like velociraptors. Although, some still do. You know who you are. So the next time you're tossing a treat to your dog, collecting eggs from your chickens, or yelling at your cat to get off your laptop, remember, you're part of a tradition that started thousands of years ago. A tradition born from curiosity, necessity, and a lot of trial and error. Somewhere a caveman once said, "What if we kept the animal instead of eating it?" And that idea changed the world. And remember, if a goat starts following you home, just go with it. That's how all of this started. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.